Bo Miller to our show tonight. Bo, we're glad to have you.
Yep, appreciate you being on the show, Bo.
Glad to be here.
But we're going to ask you a couple questions, so bear with us and let's have some fun. And a lot of the fans, you know, they see you win every week, and you got a lot of fans that boo you, which is kind of unfair because you have been dominating over the years and everything. But, you know, you work hard and you race good, and, you know, heck of a wheel man, as I've heard from several people.
Yep.
But how'd you get started in racing for these fans that don't know?
Well, I got started in racing. My dad raced, and my second dad, I call him Pee-wee. They raced back when I was growing up, and I worked on those cars for them, and just got really excited about it, and worked hard. You know, back then I worked hard and long hours, and hadn't much changed now. Still do the same thing, just work hard and long hours.
I agree.
And Bo, that really makes me feel old because I raced with your daddy Pete way back in too.
Well, I tell you, I'm getting on up there with you, Odell, but
way back in, huh?
Not that far, Bo.
It's been a while back. I started racing in '91, so it's been a while. But like I said, my dad and Pee Wee, they raced back before I did, and I growed up around it and just been doing it ever since.
Now, they was racing in the figure 8 too.
Yeah, they run the figure 8, and well, actually, Pee Wee was running the oval, and Dad was running the figure 8, and they was swapping up cars back and forth, and then we built cars for each one of them, and Dad tore up Pee Wee's car more so than Pee Wee did Dad. So,
except when Pee Wee run the barrel race.
Yeah.
And he tore it up real bad.
Sure did.
Hey, Bo, moving along real quick. You know, one of the things that, and part of this show is so the fans can get to know Bo Miller better,
right,
know who you are. But, you know, I guess a lot of us is curious, I am, who would you say is or was your biggest idol in racing? Who did you really look up to and kind of want to make your racing career be a lot like?
I tell you, there's a few, but the one that strikes me right off the top was the late Dale Earnhardt. Back when I was growing up, he was, you know, kind of the low budget type racer, working out of his daddy's shop, and you know, he gave me a lot of inspiration, showed me that, you know, you can do it, and you just got to work hard and you know, use your resources good. And I would have to say Dale Earnhardt would be, you know, my racing idol, you know, right off the top of my head.
Well, you know, I think that's probably a lot of people's was his, their hero or an idol. You know, I've had a lot of tendencies to have black cars, and I think that's probably because of him. And you know, he was an intimidator, and he had it going on for him, and he worked hard for it. And I know you've worked hard for it. And I guess Billy wants to ask you another question.
Well, you've been racing, like you said, since 1991.
Right.
In fact, you won 2 or 3 races in '91 too, didn't you?
Yeah. My first year we won, I think it was 3 races starting out.
So I mean, that's a memory there, you know, for me, even as old as I'm getting. But out of all these years, is there a favorable win that you had that really sticks out?
There's probably a couple favorite wins that sticks out. I run a lot of different tracks and different series, and right off the top of my head, we won a qualifying race at Bristol Motor Speedway. And that right there was a pretty exciting win, to be able to carry the checker flag around Bristol. A lot of people don't get to run there with our type cars. And we went down and run a qualifying race, like I said, and won it, and got to start 5th in the main race and finish 5th in the race. And then another one was we run a UARA race at Nashville. And they had a lot of the big guns come in for that race, and we raced against Dale Earnhardt Jr. and a couple other Cup guys like that, and we took and dominated that race. You know, we started outside pole and took the lead on the drop of the green and didn't look back, and we won that race in dominating fashion. And
where was that race at?
It was at Nashville, down at the old fairgrounds. We run it, and that race right there was pretty exciting. You know, like I said, we had, I think, 35 to 40 cars showed up, and we was pretty stout. You know, we went in and we tested, you know, a couple days beforehand, and got our car really, really good. So we was pretty excited about that win.
Well, I've got another question for you, but before I do, I'm going to throw you a curve, something that we didn't tell you about before the show. My dad, and he's going to get me for this, but he's always told me, Bo Miller, he's a Bo Miller fan, and my mother is too. They go to the races every week. They went to watch me, and I told them who was going to be on the show, and told them we was filming, and So I told him I was going to have you to say hi to my mom and dad. So if you don't care, I'd like you to do that. It's more of a joke than it is anything, but I want you to just tell him hi right now. So.
Okay. I'd like to tell Odell's mom and dad hi. Glad he had me out tonight on the show. So
all right.
glad that you're a fan.
Like I said, they're gonna skin my head for that. But he does. They love to watch you race, and so I told him that I was going to do that, just to aggravate them. But moving along with the question, who do you think, Bo? And I know this is going to be a hard one to ask because you've raced so much out Beach Bend, but we're talking about just at Beach Bend track.
Okay.
Who do you think has probably been your biggest rival driver? You know, the hardest challenge, gave you the hardest races over your racing there.
Wow, Odell, that is a good question. There's so many that we've had issues with, but I guess probably one of the worst ones, there's actually a couple that comes to mind. One of the worst ones that we had was back when I first started coming into racing and running late models. Me and Reuben Lancaster, we had a lot of controversy between us and a lot of heated moments, but you know, I learned a lot from Reuben and respect him, you know, very highly. And you know, I don't know if it was just a young kid coming in and we was being real competitive. We was winning races, and Reuben was winning races, and he was the one on top at the time. And we come in and kind of stepped on his toes a little, and we just kind of clashed. And you know, that's just one of them deals that ain't nothing meant, you know, no harm, no foul, but, you know, that was one.
But and you do learn a lot from the guys like it.
Right. You know, the veterans that's been there and won races and everything, you learn, you know, more than you realize, and a lot of the young guys coming in now, you know, needs to realize that.
Kind of like going to college, you know, for
right.
A guy goes to college, you guys go out and race against guys that's been successful,
right?
And you pick up little bits and pieces from them,
right? Guys. And then, you know, here of the recent, up to last year, I could say, you know, our other rival had been the Whites, Dennis White and Bobby White. Bobby's, you know, he works on the cars tremendously hard, and you know, he's got high egos and wants to win races just like we do. And, you know, Dennis is a whale of a driver. You know, I've learned a lot from Dennis and you know, how to carry myself and how to be calm and patient. And Dennis is a real great guy. Bobby's a good guy. But they are hardcore racers. You know, they hate to lose too. And them would be probably my two biggest rivals.
But let me ask you this. During this rivalry that you had with these certain drivers, I know from my past experience, what little rivals I've had, that even if you needed help or you had a question about your car, you could still go to these guys.
Oh yeah.
And they would be more than happy to help you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the weird thing about short track racing.
Yeah. That's, you know, we're rivals, but at the same time, we're good friends. Mm-hmm. And I was, back when I first started racing, there were several times I went to Reuben's shop and got help, got parts. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, like I said here recently, there's been several times I've went to Bobby and asked Bobby questions, and on the other hand, they've come to me, you know, for help, and I'll be glad to help, you know, in the same way. You know, their car's tore up, and I've went down and tried to help get their car fixed so they could race that night.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's fair to say that, you know, in stock car racing or any kind of racing, as far as that goes, you wouldn't be a racer if you didn't have that competitive edge about you. So, right. You know, everybody's really competitive and everybody really tries hard and everybody wants to win and everybody wants to be on top. But I think it's fair to say also that when you go out on that track and you pull that visor down, that helmet, that everything goes out the window. Friendship, everything really basically goes out the window. And I'm not saying you still may treat a guy a little better than you would if he was somebody that was not a good driver. But what I'm saying basically, when you go out there to win, you're on your own.
Right.
And then after you get off, you still friends. But racing on the track, it's another Bo Miller.
Right.
I think.
I mean, that's true. I mean, when we get into cars and pull them seat belts down and pull them tight, and then you know, we put them helmets on, sometimes we tend to pull that helmet strap a little too tight, and like I said, all the common sense goes out the window, and it comes strictly racing from there. So
and I think we've all done that too.
I think that's a common factor for everybody.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Well, Bo, out of all these years, is there a